Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to Lakers Detailed. This is the Game 2 post-game breakdown. Let's get into it. The Lakers win 94-85 against the Minnesota Timberwolves in what was an ugly, physical, but very entertaining basketball game. The Lakers tie up the series 1-1, and we get what I would say is like the complete opposite, almost night and day version of this team. We got the version of our team, especially on the defensive side and on the rebounding side, the version of the team that I thought that we were going to get in game one, and that we just didn't get in game one. And I thought the Lakers did just overall thematically, I thought the Lakers did like a super, super fantastic job being locked in with their defensive game plan, and also being locked in with just sort of like just the effort that they were supposed to be playing with, what we expected them to play with. So let me pull up the stats, and then we're gonna dive into just some of the stuff that I thought was really, really important. So we look at this game and we see if we're looking at this quarter, like you're looking at some like ugly, like real ugly quarters, right? Lakers jump out 34-15, a great first quarter for the Lakers. And if I have to start with giving props to the most important people to this, I have to start with the stars. Like LeBron and Luca were fantastic in different ways to start this game. I thought LeBron's defensive intensity, especially his defensive intensity, being the guy that was the person who was one pass away when Anthony Edwards had the ball at the top of the key, as well as just playing Julius Randle straight up. I thought LeBron was phenomenal. Like I can't describe in enough words how good LeBron was today, just defensively. It is what he has done, probably not to this degree, for stretches, especially like that stretch when Anthony Davis went out before the Luka trade. LeBron had been phenomenal then, and then obviously he's had the growing thing, so I know he's got to sort of pick his spots and stuff like that when that's supposed to happen. But I thought LeBron was fantastic today, defensively. He wasn't trying to force stuff. He was just on top of everything, and I thought he was fantastic. And in the first quarter, again, Luka Doncic, like he's the dude is a monster to start these games. Like once the Lakers started off the game by like giving Luka the ball in the post. He was sort of trying to facilitate. I think he tried to facilitate to Braun, tried to facilitate to Austin. They didn't necessarily have it going right at the very start. Austin, we'll talk about him. He had sort of a rough game offensively. There was a lot of woofing going on with like the Wolves and Austin today. But once Luka kind of got out of that playmaker mode, like he started rolling on offense and just started doing exactly what he did. And bro, listen, dude, like I don't know. I watched the tape of Dallas play Minnesota last playoffs, and Jaden McDaniels couldn't stay with Luka. They were playing him straight up. Like they'd have Jaden playing Luka straight up. And they've been doing that this series too as well. And Luka has been frying Jaden the entire time. And he did that again today, like in the first quarter. There was a few possessions where I think Rudy Gobert got matched up. And Luka took advantage of that too. Those isolation possessions too as well. But they're going to have to change something up. Like they're going to have to it's very, very clear that Minnesota does not want to blitz Luka. They absolutely don't want to do that because they're worried about his ability to pass out of it and then force them to get into rotation, stuff like that. And I totally understand that. I think that's a fair way to kind of looking at it. But he's getting, like, at least to start those games, he's getting really, really good looks against Jay McDaniels. And Minnesota tried to come into this game. I think both teams did this. Minnesota came into the game wanting to ball pressure, not just full court, but like on everything, try to challenge entry passes. It's a formula that works for them. They're a big physical team. It's something that makes sense. But I thought the Lakers, especially Luka, did a good job flipping that on them. When somebody's overplaying you aggressively, sometimes you don't have to use double moves. You just use a single move once you get him to bite on a fake and stuff like that. I thought Luka did a really fantastic job, kind of leading the Lakers offensively. So, Lakers come out first quarter, 19-point lead, which is even better than the 7-point lead that we got in the first quarter of game one because of, Minnesota's hot shooting, keeping him in the game. And so, as folks are filing in, you guys can always leave your comments. Appreciate all the folks coming in. And I'll definitely put them up here if you guys have any questions or any observations that you guys want to share too as well. George, you mentioned here, giving them a pass on offense. That fourth quarter, they're all gassed. Hayes being unplayable. Yeah, I think that's all very fair. Like Hayes getting in foul trouble repeatedly. And we'll talk about that in the second half because I thought Rui was phenomenal in the second half in support of in like backing up basically Hayes in that spot. The Lakers were very committed on the defensive side. And I do think they were not only committed on the defensive side, they were also committed in the paint, like rebounding, boxing out. It felt like there was a war defensively between both teams, and there was a war in the paint to battle for rebounds too as well. Bodies were hitting the floor. There was collisions. There was a ton of fouls being called in the first half, especially. It wasn't really much of a jump shooting game. So I thought that sort of caught up to the Lakers in the fourth quarter of this game. And that's why you started seeing LeBron wide open threes falling short. Luka wide open threes off of step backs falling short. Like it's very clear that sort of fatigue sort of caught up to them, especially with them playing shorthanded because of Jackson Hayes being in foul trouble. So one thing I want to point out. So, obviously first quarter, we talk about LeBron's defense and his defense as a whole. Like this entire game, LeBron was amazing defensively. And I think it is hats off to him for finding ways to be, even when he's not like the focal point of the offense, finding ways to impact the game. And I thought he did that on the defensive end masterfully. And then allowing Luka to do his thing. And then sprinkling in all the other guys at the spot. But this is the one thing, this is like the stat that I wanted to see, because when we looked at this, if you look at this stat in game one, it wasn't in the Lakers' favor. And it's specifically Luka grabbing rebounds and LeBron grabbing rebounds. I think in game one, I think Luka grabbed 8 rebounds, and I think he had 0 assists. And if I pull this up to check and see what LeBron had in the previous game, LeBron only had 5 rebounds in the first matchup. But then both of them grabbed double-digit rebounds. And then Jackson Hayes, I know Jackson Hayes didn't play in the game, but when we play small ball, and this is not just Minnesota related, this is in general. When we play small ball, everybody has to rebound the ball, especially LeBron and Luka. In game one, they were specifically picking on that low man, which sometimes would be LeBron, sometimes would be Luka, sometimes would be Rui. And their goal was to get them out of position. And they would also be out of position for rebounds because those guys are hitting threes in the corners. But when the Lakers cleaned up their defensive rotations and they cleaned up how they were going to approach what their defensive game plan was, it allowed those guys, Luka and LeBron, to be in the paint to help grab those rebounds. And so when you look at the stats and you go, oh, well, you know what? They just did a better job rebounding. There's a reason for that, because they were much more disciplined on the defensive side. They didn't allow those threes just to be available. They didn't allow Jaden McDaniels just to take a ton of wide open threes and Naz Reid just to take a ton of wide open threes the entire game. So I think the Lakers' game plan defensively and their sharpness, like their attention to detail, both defensively as well as when it came to boxing out, and their effort that was required in order for them to win this game was certainly there. One thing I will say, Minnesota did not play this game like, oh, we're happy that we got the split. They were trying to win this game. Like even in the second half when they were down 20 and they cut it to 13 and the Lakers extended back out to 20, they continued to claw at this game. And that's what I think this series is going to be. Minnesota is not an old team. It's a young team. They know who they're playing against, and I think they're going to play the Lakers for all 48 minutes of basketball. This is not a team that's going to like lay down for like 10, 12-minute stretches so that the Lakers can just do whatever they want. So the level, hopefully we would hope that like the intensity isn't this crazy, but I think I think this is the level of effort that's going to be required from everybody on the Lakers team in order for us to win this series. And Minnesota is not an easy place to play at all. So like that's my long first 10 minutes I wanted to spend just talking about LeBron and talking about Luka, because I thought our 2 stars did a super fantastic job setting the tone in different ways to start this game. And when you do something like that, it makes it a lot easier for the role guys to fill in their spots. And so that was really good. There was stretches of basketball where the Lakers lost the pace of the game. I thought they were playing with a really great pace in the first half. They were constantly, up until maybe about 2 minutes left in the first half, they were constantly 2-3 minutes. They were constantly not pushing the ball up the floor, but they're getting the ball up the floor faster, advancing the ball up the floor, attacking early, getting into any motions or identifying what matchups they want to attack. They did that with good pace to start the game. And the stretch of basketball where they stopped doing that was the stretch of basketball where the Wolves caught back up. And I think JJ Redick took that timeout. And if you're watching the Spectrum broadcast, you could probably hear him. It's probably a tweet going around somewhere where you can hear him cussing and all that sort of stuff. Like, it was very clear that the Lakers had started to kind of slow down and deviate away from the pace that they needed to be playing at. And so it was really good for JJ to intervene sort of at that spot. I think we were only up by 13 or something at the time. And then we helped build the lead back up by playing, just playing better in that capacity. And so, like, if you're looking at just the stat lines, like Braun, 3 assists away from a triple-double, Luka, 1 assist away from a triple-double. Like, those are your main 2 big dogs. Like, those are the big dogs. You have to play off of them. They're going to be the main ball handlers. Everybody else has to play off of them. And so the first guy to talk about that has to play off of him is Austin Reeves. Like, Austin, he missed like 4 threes, I think, in the first quarter. And like all of them seemed like he was pressing it. Like he was kind of chasing the 3 a little bit. And so I think that was something I thought that was like something that, like, it's just something on observation. Like he's really trying to chase that 3. I wonder, and I remember seeing this when we had him guard Jamal Murray against Denver in the playoffs last season, because he's spending so much time running around screens, having to defend like Jamal, who's a strong guard. Anthony Edwards is a strong guard. Like, because he was having to do all that, I think it takes some of his legs away. And I think he settles for 3s, and sometimes his 3s fall short. There were also some 3s that he took that he probably really didn't need to take. Like, he could have just dribbled to the rim and taken like a floater or a layup. And so I don't know if it's a fatigue thing or, to some degree, I think also he was concerned about, getting blocked at the rim, or just the length that they had, that Minnesota had at the rim. But it's starting to become, I think this is going to be a series that Austin's going to have to play off of Luka and LeBron. And I'm not quite sure, because of the physicality that Minnesota is able to play with against him. I don't know if this is going to be one of those, series where like Austin's just going to kind of get to do what he wants. I think he's going to have to really work off of a compromised defense. And that's his best chance. But when he does get those opportunities, he has to go. Like, don't hesitate. And don't, like, you don't need to do double moves when a single move will get you to where you need to go. If the refs aren't calling fouls, don't look for him. Just play your game, because he's very capable of playing without trying to draw fouls too as well. And he had a very rough first quarter and just kind of gradually got better and better. But in the fourth quarter, I thought Austin did a really great job outside of the lobs that he was trying to throw to LeBron, which I think like 9 out of 10 times LeBron's are going to try and dunk them. It's just this game, LeBron was super fatigued, clearly, based on his jump shot. And I thought Austin did a great job. He had a great ISO play against Rudy Gobert, where he kind of sized him up, got Rudy to open up his hips, and then was able to drive to Rudy's right hip and go right to the rim for a layup. Like, keep it simple. I think that would be like my advice to Austin. Like, don't make it too complicated. Once you know you've got a guy like Naz Reid or Rudy Gobert on you, and you've got the slow-footed guy, just get him to kind of open up the hips. And once they open up the hips, just go to the rim. Don't overthink it with the double moves. Like, because I think Minnesota has been coached up very well for both Luka and Austin. That I think in their scouting game plan, they've been told that, like, these guys can draw fouls. Like, so don't overdo it. And I think Austin's trying to look for it, and it's not there. So rough start to the game, but I thought he finished the game really well outside of those lobs in regard. And I think that was fine. Speaking of shooting, I am so glad that LeBron James decided to go right into that mid-range to those mid-range pull-ups and those three-point pull-ups. He opened up the game with hitting two middies at the free throw line, and then I think he hit a three immediately after. I think that those like his first four shots. I think three of those were that, and he cashed all of them, and they look fantastic coming out of his hands and going in, and like I put it on YouTube earlier. Like I think he has to do that. Like LeBron's going to have to do that. These teams respect him too much and his ability to finish at the rim and who he is as a player in that capacity. And he's going to have to use that to kind of soften them up a little bit. LeBron's going to need to hit a couple jumpers to soften up the coverage, and then once the coverage softens up and they start taking a step closer, he can start going by them for layups. So I thought he was fantastic. Braun actually has, I would say, probably the biggest momentum changer of the game for the Lakers, which was in the fourth quarter. Luka, I think, had thrown 2 turnovers off of just playing too much isolation dribbling and then trying to throw the ball at the very end. Luka's his fourth turnover of the game happened exactly that way, where Rudy has the ball and he has the ball and he's dribbling around too much. And then he tries to like throw this pass to, I don't know who, because there's nobody in the vicinity of where that pass is going to be. And it got stolen by, I think, Jaden McDaniels. And we were only up 9, I want to say, maybe 11, but I think it was 9. And if what's it called? If Minnesota scores, we're probably taking another timeout because just a turnover out of a dead ball position. And Braun kind of just swoops in, steals the ball from Jaden McDaniels, ends up finishing the play, taking it on the break the other way, finishing it with a layup. I thought that was a huge underrated momentum play, because if they hit a 3 or something like that, the game turns into like a 2-possession game, and it gets very shaky for the Lakers. Like, and momentum would certainly be in Minnesota's favor at that point, if that sort of thing happened. So I'm very glad that Braun decided to embrace his bag early, because I think that allowed him to get better coverages and better looks at the rim, personally. And again, like, that's just the offensive stuff. But this game today was not an offensive game for either team. It was a rock fight. It was a war in every sense. And I thought the Lakers being willing to fight in the paint and embrace that war, and our 2 stars willing to do that was super huge in order for us to win. And speaking of wars, that brings me to the guy that everybody loves to make fun of, but the guy who I think is the unsung hero of this game, which is Rui Hachimura. Like, Jackson Hayes had one of the worst probable foul games that he's probably ever had in a very long time. He's usually not this bad when it comes to like fouling people, but today it was just not his night, clearly. And he had that frustration goaltend also. So he was clearly like kind of in his own head. So hopefully he plays better. But Rui Hachimura had to step up in the spot. Gabe Vincent also was fantastic. A few other guys, Jordan Goodwin for a short burst, Dorian Finney-Smith, Vanderbilt. I don't want to ignore those guys because I thought those guys were all fantastic defensively in preserving the tone and the intensity of the defense that we wanted. But Rui was great. Like, Rui was genuinely great. And he gets a lot of crap for the things that he can't do. But I thought Rui did a phenomenal job, especially in the second half, being the guy to help challenge Anthony Edwards' shots at the rim, to box out Rudy Gobert or box out Naz Reid or to box out Julius Randle. And then he would take ISO possessions in the post against Julius Randle or Naz Reid, or not Naz Reid so much, but like, or he'd have to switch out on the perimeter against Anthony Edwards and have to like eat a bunch of forearms and push-offs and stuff like that and stay with him. And the team did a great job behind him in helping him rebound and all that sort of stuff. But I have to give a serious shout out to Rui, because when Jackson went out of the game, Minnesota really doubled down on trying to get to the rim and like just trying to force the issue in the paint. Jaden McDaniels tried to do it. Julius tried to do it multiple times. And Rui's efforts in different parts of the paint, like, I'd have to run the game. I'm going to rewatch it. But he had so many small efforts that you won't notice just because there's so many bodies that are in the paint that we just have to appreciate. I just have to appreciate, because that's stuff that nobody wants to have to do for 40 minutes. And I'm sure Rui doesn't want to have to do that for 40 minutes, but he did it. and I think that was a huge part of I think that was a huge part of the Lakers being successful, especially in the second half. So I want to shout out him for sure because that sort of level of effort in lieu of the guys getting in foul trouble and stuff like that, and then he ate an elbow in the face early in the game, put on a mask, took off a mask, put on a mask again, and just competed through all of it. I thought it was fantastic. Small things that I thought were really really good too as well. Gabe Vincent being able to pick up Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Anthony Edwards, and for the Lakers to be able to put ball pressure on Minnesota the same way that they try to do it to us, it's great because it forces them to go into the shot clock later. I thought the Lakers did a fantastic job of when Anthony Edwards wasn't on the court and it was just Julius Randle on the floor, making it so that Julius had to be the guy that scored every single time and not allowing him to play make for his teammates. And I thought they did a fantastic. I think the Lakers discipline in not overplaying, over helping, all that sort of stuff, staying disciplined in the situation that they were supposed to be in. I thought that was super great. On the Wolves side, like Jaden McDaniels has an awful shooting night tonight. Misses everything. It felt like he had a couple wide open ones that he couldn't knock down. I know Naz Reid was in foul trouble, but he had an awful game too as well. Even outside of the foul trouble, Mike Conley got played off the floor very quickly. He for a long stretch of this game, I want to say through like 3 quarters, he'd only played like 16 minutes, so he hadn't played very much at all. So Lakers have, I would argue, functionally managed to play him off, which is good because now you're eliminating the playmaking ability of Mike Conley, and he's a very high IQ guy, very smart guy. So taking the IQ off the floor is helpful for the Lakers because now you have only Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle that are making those reads for the Wolves, until Dante or somebody else comes in. You can see the shooting from the Wolves players. It felt like the Lakers did a really, really nice job in that capacity. Lakers also did a really nice job keeping their turnovers kind of low. Again, in that fourth quarter, it felt like Luka had most of his turnovers in the fourth quarter, just kind of over dribbling a little bit too much and trying to find somebody. But the Lakers played a relatively clean game on the turnover side too as well. And I would argue, we didn't necessarily get the best shooting game out of our guys too as well because of the level of physicality. You get Austin Reeves going over 6. That's very uncharacteristic. 2 for 8 for Luka, very uncharacteristic. Braun again, 1 for 5. Rui 0 for 2. I thought their threes were pretty good looks, but their legs were probably just kind of a little gassed, and so they weren't able to knock them down. So I thought the Lakers, because they were so locked in on the defensive part, it helped kind of give some life to their offense, gave them some margin of error for them, even though the Lakers themselves didn't score over 100 points. They played to the defensive side of basketball. And look, man, if you can hold a team, like Lakers only scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, but if you can open up games with a 19-point lead after the first quarter, you're buying yourself some margin of error going into the rest of that game. So sometimes you win games because you win each quarter 4 points, 5 points, 4 points, 5 points, and you end up winning the game by 10, 11, 12. But sometimes you get a really explosive first quarter, and then from there you just gotta work your way through it. And so I'm very glad that the Lakers matched the intensity of the Timberwolves, and I'm very glad that they kind of showed up and they were the aggressors. So like Bando said. So let me get to some of the comments that we've got in here from the chat. Rui was soft on those screens in the first quarter, yeah, and I thought he really picked up some of the effort on that. Brian. Thank you for the comment for J9U. Eccentric cast. Ugly is an understatement. Yeah. Hey, look, it's the playoffs. We don't care how these wins come. We want them to. If they're going to be ugly, they're going to be ugly. Oh well. Lakers at 6. I think that's a pretty good guess. We contained them to only 85 points. Yeah, it's not easy, and it wasn't a game where they were just missing every wide open shot. We were contesting everything, even at the rim, and in the paint in any capacity that they wanted. Great intensity to this game from the Lake Show. I agree. I thought this was even when we were up 20, I was just like, no, we have to keep playing. We have to keep playing hard because if we don't, this is a team that can go on a run. And Ant is certainly a guy who can get super hot from deep. Question from Miles. Are you worried about Braun's legs over the course of this series? 3 ball shot. Also, Reeves is due for some positive regressions. Surely. Yeah, I think Reeves is trying to. I'll answer the Reeves part first. I think Reeves is trying to figure out how to how to deal with this coverage. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to work out because I do think at some point Reeves is going to go, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go with what works. And I don't know if that's going to be him continuing to chuck threes or if that's going to be him doing more straight line driving. So I think he's going to eventually figure it out. But I do think that the length does bother Reeves. Like Reeves is concerned about getting blocked by guys like he had Anthony Edwards on him. Like there's people on the timeline like, oh, where's Austin Reeves? How come Austin Reeves isn't playing well? It's like, well, dude, the arguably the best shooting guard in the best two-way shooting guard in the NBA is guarding him. Like there was a play where Reeves tried to take Anthony Edwards one-on-one, and I think the ball ended up going out of bounds or something like that. It was still Lakers ball, but like Edwards was like he was like clapping his hands, like he was active, like he was being competitive with Reeves. He was woofing at him, and so my thing is like it's not like some random slouch that's guarding him on the other side. Reeves has to figure it out. Like he's going to get defended by guys like that sometimes, and he has to figure it out. So I'm hopeful they figures it out. Regarding Braun's legs, that's a good thing. That's a good question. I'm very curious to know what that looks like because it's gonna like he does need some help. Like Jackson Hayes can't get in foul trouble consistently. Like that's gonna be a problem. That's good. Like before Jackson Hayes fouled, like basically got pulled the second time in the second quarter. Raj and I actually talked about it when we were talking about whether the Vando Goodwin lineup should play. I had made the suggestion that maybe instead of playing Goodwin, JJ Redick should play Jackson Hayes instead, because then you can screen for Braun and Braun doesn't have to work so hard to try and get layups at the rim or get easy shots. But Jackson Hayes got in foul trouble because of just the refs calling moving screens or whatever on him and just stupid fouls that he committed himself that we never got a chance to see it. But I do think the fact that he did make that switch, the fact that we instead of playing Goodwin with Vando, we played Jackson with Vando, I think that's a thing. I think that's going to be something when it's Braun, Austin, Vando, DFS, and like Jackson. I think Jackson's going to be that fifth guy. And I'm going to be very curious to see what happens when he's not in foul trouble and when the Lakers can actually use him for more than whatever minutes. How many minutes did Jackson play? 9 minutes, even less minutes the last game, primarily due to his own fault when it comes to the screening. So I think that's going to help his legs, but we'll see. We'll see. I think it's just something we have to watch and see if Braun can take care of himself and be impactful. Jesus, I needed this win for my health. Yeah, so did I. I think all Laker fans are very tense. I predicted a double-digit win, which we would have had if Anthony Edwards hadn't taken that dunk at the end of the game. But whatever, it's fine. We'll take it how we get it. We had a week off though. Don't want to hear about tired legs. No excuses. I'm nervous. It's playoff basketball. You got to be nervous. The Minnesota team is not a bad team. They are definitely a good team. Edwards, 2 points in the fourth. That was a concession bucket in garbage time. Yeah, we did a good job. Money, very good win. It's playoff basketball. Yep. Refs have been so bad. It's almost unwatchable. I mean, sometimes the refs are going to ref. It just sort of is what it is. Carlos Spencer's nephew. JJ needs to do drills with Jax to see if this dude is capable of avoiding fouls because his IQ is lower than Forrest Gump. Yeah, Jackson will have his moments, but he also has some moments where he's like fantastic. Like, dude, so obviously Anthony Edwards had that amazing, like ridiculous dunk. But when you watch that replay, Jackson actually blocks that dunk. He like gets his hand on the ball, but Ant is just so freaking strong that he just powers through Jackson's block and gets the dunk. But Jackson makes him change that dunk midair and still gets kind of his hand on it. So you don't get participation points for attempting a block because you're on the back end on the bad side of a highlight reel. But like just looking at it the other way, Jackson made a really, really great contest and forced him to change it. Just Ant made an amazing play, and I thought he was really awesome. But he does do good stuff sometimes. AR has to be better with his entry passes as well. Too nonchalant. I think there was a lot of ball pressure on those passes too as well. Like Minnesota was trying to challenge everything on the way in. George asks, any concern on our shot making in that fourth quarter? I thought they were gassed. I was concerned, but I think it was because they were gassed, honestly. I think I think it was good that Austin got the ball because his legs were probably the freshest out of the group. There's a couple of turnovers, like the lob that he threw to Braun that Braun had no chance of getting. Like that's probably if Austin just takes that layup, that like we're not worried about our offense. I thought there was just a couple of plays. There was a couple of possessions also where like Luka could have very, very easily just taken the shot, but for some reason he decided to pass it out. Maybe because you want to get the triple double, but like that is just one of those things where, um, I think if we don't be stupid, we would have been okay. But there was certainly fatigue on some of the jump shooting. I will say that with Braun and Luka for sure. Wolves had the most undisciplined fouls. Yeah, well, they might not call those, but they can be a hyper aggressive team, and you have to use that against them. Just Neil, this entire series is going to be a stress watch. That's NBA basketball, man. For all the people who never watched 90s basketball, this is 90s basketball. This game and like the Warriors game against the Rockets, if you guys watch that, like this is 90s, but even the Nuggets Clippers game, this is 90s basketball. Like this is exactly what it's like. Like there's no exchanging blowouts like it was in 2018 or whatever. Luke was letting the refs have it. Yes, I'm very grateful that he also didn't get in trouble. Didn't catch any technicals. Bashir knew Braun's legs were off when he missed his point blank floaters. Yeah, he had, I think he airballed a floater after I think Jaden fell down to the ground or something like that. He bullied him to the rim. Just Neil, I felt it like at times Lakers were making the extra pass too many times. There was one possession, it felt like it was a shot clock violation one where they passed it around a little bit too much. And Dorian Finney-Smith took the layup on Rudy Gobert, and then he ended up like missing it. And it didn't reset the clock because it just hit the backboard and never hit the rim. Like that was probably a possession where it's just like, okay, I think like Vando got it like right in the middle of the paint. He could have just quite easily just taken a floater, and that would have been okay. That was one of those things that was making things a little bit difficult. Seemed like in the fourth, Luka stopped going at his mismatches. Yeah, he would dribble around a whole bunch to waste the clock, and then he would like pass. He would start throwing grenades, attempting to throw grenades, but they ended up being turnovers. So not even grenades. Just you don't want to do that. We get mad. I get mad at Braun about that all the time. It's just like don't play the prevent offense where you're trying to waste shot clock and then throw it to a teammate or take a bad shot because the shot clock is now basically an extra defender against you. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And when I do the rewatch, I think on Thursday night, I think Thursday night, Raj and I are planning on sharing our notes and then talking about game 3 adjustments. But I thought the Lakers' attention to detail was fantastic tonight. I thought their defensive game plan was tremendous. I thought Luka, again, starting us off on the offensive part was fantastic. If Minnesota continues to play him one-on-one to start games, I think he's going to continue to torch them. I think Braun was the QB. I think Braun was fantastic defensively this game. And every time he was on the floor, I thought I had a lot of confidence in our defense. And I think his attitude and his communication, his effort infected everybody on the team and infected Gabe, Dorian, Vando, Rui, and I think it also affected Luka. Luka had some really great defensive possessions too as well. So I don't want to act as if Luka was just an offensive guy. He was really, really fantastic. And so it's hats off to the entire team. This is the level of defensive intensity you have to have against a team that's going to try and bulldoze you throughout the course of the game. And I hope they continue to do it and they continue to make things difficult. For Anthony Edwards, there's a quote that just came out, I think. Let me actually share it. This will probably be the last thing I cover before I sign off for the night, because you guys know how I don't think these post games need to be longer than they really are. But we'll do this last quote because I think this is probably going to be the quote of the night. This is from Anthony Edwards. Talking to or this is from courtesy of Harrison. Looks like Anthony Edwards said every time I got the ball, they got in the zone. Anthony Edwards said post game, calling the Lakers defense confusing. That is great to hear. Great to hear, because that is exactly what we want to have happen every time Anthony Edwards gets the ball. Make his read so difficult that he doesn't know what he wants to do with that, and show it to him. Don't wait for him to make his move to do what you want to do. show him what's gonna be in front of him if he wants to try and take a drive with his right hand, a drive with his left hand. Because when you do that, he's wasting time off the clock trying to figure out what he's supposed to do. Now all of a sudden, the entire team's possession, the rhythm for that possession disappears. So again, I thought the Lakers did a fantastic job defensively, and I think that's really the story of the game. And I think that's what that's the level of defensive intensity and rebounding effort that they're going to have in order for the Lakers to be successful and win the series overall. So, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed the post game. This was a great win for the Lakers. We will do this again for Game 3, and I'll certainly have this up on Apple and Spotify, and I'll make sure that I'll let you guys know when me and Raj do the live stream for Game 3 and sharing our Game 2 notes. If you guys are on X or if you guys are on YouTube and you enjoy the content, head over to YouTube if you can. Like the video, subscribe to Lakers Detailed if you haven't already, and if nothing else, share it. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the support that we get both on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow Raj, and the Lakers win. We tie up the series, and now we got to go to Minnesota and go steal one so we can get home court back. So wherever you are, I hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.